Well, hey guys, in today's video, we're going to talk about something that really needs talking about. Something nobody wants to talk about, but is a real problem that I bet a lot of you deal with, and that is genital itching. Yes, we're going to go there. Vulvar itching in particular in women, it's a really common problem. Probably more common than we even realize because a lot of people, it's just something they don't want to talk about. They don't want to broach with their doctor. They may not even remember when they are at the doctor that they're dealing with this, and maybe they don't even perceive it as an actual problem, even worthy of discussing. But seriously, it can impact one's overall quality of life. I mean, just imagine how miserable it is to have itch at all, but genital itching is even more socially awkward. It's not just like scratching your knee when it itches. It's, a little bit more, well, intimate. Keep watching because not only are we going to be talking all about the causes and reasons behind vulvar itching, but I'm going to give you some practical tips that you can implement to minimize the symptoms of itch. We talk a lot on this channel about an impaired skin barrier and habits in your skincare routine that can lead to an impaired barrier. But the skin on your vulva is a lot more vulnerable to skin barrier disruption, and subsequently, the end result is that more water exits the skin and more irritating things can enter, including things that trigger the symptoms of itch. Genital skin is a lot more reactive in comparison to skin on other areas of the body. For example, you could take an ingredient and put it on your forearm under occlusion, meaning like underneath the bandage, and it'd probably be okay for a while, but do the same exact thing to the skin of the vulva, you're going to get a lot more irritation much more quickly than you would on the forearm. It's an environment where you have trapping of sweat up against the skin, and if you guys recall from my videos, sweat left on the skin is pretty irritating. It leads to more water loss from the skin and further disrupts the skin barrier. You also may have residue from urine, bodily fluids. Then you have the friction from your clothing, any kind of personal care product that you might be using directly there or indirectly may be coming in contact, like your body washes or your laundry detergent. And of course, you have hormonal influences. Decline in the level of estrogen around menopause, with breastfeeding, postpartum, and as a result of certain medications can impact the vulvar epithelium. Estrogen is pretty important for maintaining the structural integrity of the vulvar vaginal space, and it's also really important for skin barrier function. In general, with age and with the decline in estrogen that occurs in women, you do experience a lot more dry skin, but that definitely impacts the vulvar area. Speaking of menopause, as estrogen levels decline, you get thinning of the epidermis, the top part of the skin, and you have an increase in skin pH. Both of these things lead to a skin barrier that is a lot more vulnerable to water loss and for irritating things to come in. You also have a decline in the hydration of the stratum corneum, the top layer of the epidermis. With that comes an impairment in skin barrier function, making the individual more susceptible to itch. There are a variety of primary skin conditions like atopic dermatitis, lichen planus, psoriasis that can lead to genital itching in both men and women. You also can get genital itching as a result of certain skin infections. The list goes on, well beyond what is practical to cover in today's video. But I want to focus on one issue that can lead to genital itching, and that is contact dermatitis. Things that come in contact with the genitalia can lead to barrier disruption and itch. If you'll recall from my videos on contact dermatitis, you have two different types. Allergic contact dermatitis, meaning your body and your immune system have decided that a certain ingredient, compound, chemical is no longer acceptable, and you mount an immune response to that ingredient whenever you come in contact with it. It may be something that you previously tolerated just fine, but you have become sensitized to it and you are now allergic to it. The other type of contact dermatitis is actually a lot more common, and that is irritant contact dermatitis. Your immune system isn't necessarily directly involved in that. There's no deciding an ingredient is bad or good. It's simply an ingredient or product or formulation overall is very disruptive to the skin barrier. And again, because vulvar skin is a lot more sensitive than, say, the skin on your arm, well, it becomes more of an issue in these areas. Vulvar allergic contact dermatitis. What types of ingredients ingredients are common allergens in this region. Fragrance. Fragrance is actually one of the most common causes of allergic contact dermatitis, leading to vulvar itch. Fragrances, they can be found in a wide array of personal care products. Body washes, lotions, deodorants, feminine hygiene sprays, feminine washes, but also in feminine hygiene products like sanitary napkins, scented tampons, bubble baths. You also have fragrance in laundry detergents, fabric softeners. Another common family of allergens is preservatives. Preservatives are really important for keeping our skincare and personal care products safe and free of microbial contaminants, but sometimes these can lead to an allergy. Your body can mount an immune response against them and you can become allergic to them. Methyl chloroisothiazolinone and methyl isothiazolinone, quaternium 15, parabens, or phenoxyethanol. As a reminder, you can develop an allergy to anything. What I'm pointing out here are simply more commonly identified allergens that lead to vulvar allergic contact dermatitis. Then you have ingredients in medicated products, specifically topical anesthetics. Ingredients that are anesthetics can be identified on ingredient labels by the ending caine, C-A-I-N-E. Benzocaine, tetracaine, procaine, for example. These are actually commonly found in Vagisil and Preparation H, hemorrhoid creams. Then you have topical antibiotic medications, most commonly going to be neomycin and bacitracin. I always point this out when I go into the drugstore with you guys, but Neosporin actually is a really common cause of allergic contact dermatitis. Rare instances, unfortunately, people can actually become allergic to the topical steroid medications they may have been prescribed to treat the vulvar itching. It should be suspected if the condition is worsening despite using a prescribed or over-the-counter steroid cream. Steroid creams include things like hydrocortisone, triamcinolone. You can develop an allergy either to the active drug, like the steroid molecule in the topical preparation, or you can develop an allergy to one of the inactive ingredients. And then another class is going to be the topical antifungals that are used in this area. You can actually develop an allergy to those medications, clotrimazole and miconazole. These medications are commonly found in over-the-counter treatments for yeast infection, like Monistat, for example. You may be using that thinking that you are treating a yeast infection because you have itch down there, but in reality, you actually can develop an allergy to the antifungal drug that ends up making the itch much worse. So those are just some common causes of allergy in this area. You can also just develop irritation from products that you use. Whether it be a body wash, bubble bath is a common irritant in the genital area because it's essentially detergent and fragrance that can end up being left behind on the skin and getting trapped there in the skin folds. It's very easy in this area because of the skin folds and the skin-on-skin contact for things like body washes and bubble bath to leave a residue that gets trapped in those skin folds and for it to not be rinsed out in total. Also, water left on the skin can lead to a lot of irritation, water and or sweat. And so whenever you bathe, make sure that you adequately dry in the skin folds with a clean towel to prevent irritation and further breakdown of the skin barrier that would otherwise lead to itch. Genital itch can affect both men and women, the external genitalia. If you are dealing with this, definitely bring it to the attention of your healthcare provider. Don't be embarrassed whatsoever. A lot of people are really embarrassed to bring things like this to the attention of their doctor, but I have to tell you, in medicine, we become very quickly desensitized to anything that you might find embarrassing. It really does not impact us and our thinking that way whatsoever. The aim of your healthcare provider is to help you, and we see all sorts of things and in that area, and it's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's a really common issue, so don't be embarrassed to speak up. And the things that we're talking about in this video are one thing, but there are a lot of other more urgent things that might need to be addressed that can cause itching. So don't ever hesitate to show these things to your doctor. It's not an uncommon scenario where somebody has a skin problem that affects the skin on their body and the skin in and around their genitals. And when they come to the dermatologist, they point out the skin rash, like say for example on their arms or their body, but they're really closed off and maybe don't even mention that there's actually a problem in the genital area. And unless the dermatologist specifically asks about symptoms there or specifically asked to examine that area, then it can go miss, and you can really end up missing a much bigger picture issue. And if you have developed an allergy to something, you can be referred to a dermatologist who can do patch testing to figure out what, if any, of these ingredients that we've talked about today you might actually be allergic to. That way, moving forward, you know, okay, I have to avoid these things because they're causing me problems. What can you do in the meantime? When it comes to caring for the vulva, I think women are very easily misled by the marketing of feminine hygiene products. I suggest avoiding any kind of feminine hygiene wash, douche, anything of that sort, because these things, they actually cause a lot more harm than good. The vagina does not actually need to be cleaned with anything other than warm water to clean out the folds and everything. You don't need soap in this area. It actually cannot handle soaps or detergents, even those quote unquote formulated for this area can end up being incredibly irritating and disrupt not only the skin barrier, but the flora of the skin and the vaginal mucosa, and put you at risk for skin infections. A lot of the disposable wipes can also be a cause of contact dermatitis, not only maybe because of the fragrances or the preservatives. Make sure that when you are finding that you get sweaty, whether it be after exercise or from walking a lot, that you change into clean, dry clothing. Stick to breathable fabrics. When it comes to underwear, avoid synthetic fabrics that can be moisture trapping and instead stick to 100% cotton. It's also advised to just stick to white cotton because a lot of the dyes in underwear fabric can actually be pretty irritating. Avoid thong underwear. The thing about thong underwear that nobody wants to talk about is that it actually, just the motion of the thong go a little bit back and forth, and it can introduce bacteria and things from the anal area closer to the vagina, and that can actually cause itch. Avoid rayon or acetate synthetic fabrics. They don't breathe particularly well and can trap moisture and sweat. Stick to fragrance-free body washes and fragrance-free laundry detergents as well. I suggest not using fabric softeners. These can leave behind a residue on fabrics that can end up being pretty irritating to the skin. And when it comes to washing your underwear, try to not overdo it with a laundry detergent. Just use it as the detergent recommends. Don't use too much because you can end up leaving behind some of the detergent in the fabric that can then be transferred to your skin and cause irritation. And to be conservative, do a second rinse to really ensure that you get all of the laundry detergent out so that you're not ending up getting any of that detergent residue then transferred to your skin. If you're able, you may elect to use tampons instead of sanitary napkins and pads. Sanitary napkins and pads, they can end up trapping a lot of moisture and irritating bodily fluids up close to the skin. Make sure that you are not getting the ones that have fragrance in them. A lot of them are scented. If you do have a lot of dryness and irritation on the vulva, the actual skin part, it's okay to use plain petrolatum ointment like Vaseline as a skin protectant. It's actually much better to use that in the situation where you do have a lot of irritation and inflammation going on, because a lot of other petrolatum ointments like Aquaphor or CeraVe healing ointment, they do have other ingredients, which in this case could potentially be allergens, and just plain petrolatum is actually one of the safest options. Now, when it comes to dryness of the vaginal mucosa, that can certainly happen around and with menopause. Replens, it's a moisturizer for that area. It's silicone based. As a matter of fact, YouTube has this new feature, I'll see if it's working, where if you tap on the little shopping bag, some of these things that I'm talking about should pop up. So check that out there. You can also use zinc oxide diaper rash cream to cut down on friction from clothing and to cut down on irritating things getting into the skin. just a plain zinc oxide diaper rash cream. Try and avoid wearing tight clothing too. Stick to breathable items of clothing. Tight jeans and leggings and bike shorts, they're not your friend in this situation. Because again, they're going to be more likely to trap moisture and sweat. They're not as breathable depending on the material. And so it can actually really end up aggravating the issue for you a lot. When you do get sweaty, again, change into clean, dry clothing, clean, dry underwear. If you go for a long walk, for example, and you find that you work up a little bit of a sweat, chances are you're pretty sweaty down there. Consider swapping out to clean underwear. It can help cut down on this itch. All right, y'all, I hope this video was informative. I want to start this discussion with you guys simply because I know it's something a lot of you deal with, and it's something that you're probably not even willing to talk about with your doctor, but I want to encourage you to have that conversation and not feel embarrassed, because it really can have a devastating impact on your overall quality of life. And again, this can be a symptom of a much larger issue, and it's really important to take care of it. Don't feel embarrassed. Don't think that it's not important to bring up, because it certainly is. And never feel like you are inconveniencing a healthcare provider by having them go ahead and examine that area. I know sometimes in this current climate where appointment visits are very rushed and kept to a short window, like one problem or whatever, but trust me, like, it's really an important part of taking care of patients is to examine them and look in these areas when there are problems to make sure that you're not missing something much bigger. Barely even scratch the surface on the vast array of things that can cause itch in this area. Some of them a lot scarier than we got into in today's video. So don't hesitate to share this with your doctor, with your healthcare provider. It's really important. All right, y'all, I hope this video was informative. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and as always, don't forget, sunscreen and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.